Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Libraries, faculties and student townhouses are among the revised plans unveiled by the University of Tasmania for its $344 million move in Launceston. And there's at last more details on how the massive relocation will be done.
This is just a glimpse of what Launceston's biggest ever infrastructure project will look like. The University of Tasmania admits not everyone was on board with its plans for the new Inveresk campus.
And so having listened to them, we've come up with a much better, more sustainable type of campus that is fit for the next 30 to 40 years.
This gateway building, already labelled the Donut, is one casualty of the design shake-up. And there's now a firmer idea of the timeline. Development applications will be lodged at the end of the month for the new library and a footbridge over the North Esk River. The whole project will be built over 3 stages, finishing in 2024.
In case you hadn't noticed, there's a kind of a property or a construction boom going on in Tasmania. If we were to build everything at once, the disruption to this entire area would be quite phenomenal.
The cost has also gone up, from $260 to $344 million. That's due in part to estimates from 2015.
It's something we've been waiting for quite some years, there's no doubt about that, and we're really keen to see the project develop. So to get to this stage with the master plan now is very exciting and pleasing.
This has been quite a long-running process, but it's very important for the City of Launceston and for the university that this project is right.
UTAS is also preparing to move its Sandy Bay campus to central Hobart, and the uni boss is confident both big moves can be accomplished.
We're clever people.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
There's growing fears tonight that 2 new Spirit of Tasmania vessels won't be delivered on time. The replacements are due to be up and running by 2021, but the government is in discussions with alternative shipbuilders as their current supplier continues to struggle with financial difficulties.
As these 2 Spirit of Tasmania vessels begin to age, 2 new replacements are planned. But concerns continue to grow around just when they'll be on the water.
The board are monitoring this very carefully, and the contract is in place.
They're due to be delivered in 2021, spruiked as being larger and better able to accommodate booming passenger numbers. But the German company building the vessels is facing well-known financial challenges.
This is one of the most crucial pieces of infrastructure assets in the Tasmanian arsenal. Having those 2 ferries on Bass Strait ensure that we really support the tourism industry and our export and importing industries.
The government confirming it's exploring contingency plans in discussions with other builders in case the current company, FSG, cannot stay afloat, and awaiting further advice on its capacity to deliver the vessels on time.
The board's got a contract in place and having ongoing discussions, and yes, is having conversations with other shipbuilders, I'm advised.
There is no way under these circumstances that the government can commit to delivering the TT line vessels in 2021, and we want to know when they actually knew about it.
The government saying no money will change hands until it's sure the ships will be delivered, and if needed, the current vessels can operate beyond 2021. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Work bans are continuing at schools across Tasmania and are expected to last until at least next week as education staff continue to escalate industrial action. It's now been more than a year since the public sector staff started rallying against the state government's wages offer. For the last week, education facility attendants, or those who keep our schools clean, haven't been undertaking their full duties in protest. They're warning some schools may be forced to close facilities if they become too dirty.
Wish they'd just come forward so we can all just go back and get stuck in and do our work and keep the schools and that clean and be happy again. Just give us our pay rise. Another round of negotiations are scheduled for next week.
Aurora customers can expect to see their power bills rise by around $40 a year under a new agreement announced today. Rates for households and small businesses will increase by 2% from July 1 this year. The company has labelled the change modest, but says it understands this could have an impact on household budgets, offering payment options to those who need it. The price rise is the maximum amount allowed under a state government directive to cap electricity costs. A truck and a car have collided on the Huon Highway at Vince's Saddle. Police say the trailer of the truck went out of control and jackknifed this morning. The driver of the car tried but couldn't avoid a collision, damaging the side of their vehicle. No injuries were reported, but there was some disruption to traffic as the scene was cleared. Plans have been revealed for a new $75 million housing development in Evandale. Up to 110 homes will be built over 15 years on the town's northern fringe. Those behind the bid say they'll listen to community feedback on the proposal.
I think generally, all in all, after our public consultation last night, we felt that the broader Evandale community would be supportive of it.
A development application is expected to be lodged in the coming weeks. It's the second major residential project proposed for the town. There's a warning for parents and carers tonight after a spate of children suffering burns. So far this year, 10 children have been treated for burns related to heating. Health authorities say they've seen a lot of hand injuries with toddlers touching wood heaters.
The majority of children that are sustaining burn injuries are between the ages of 13 and 24 months. And this is in line with the fact that these children are starting to walk, are starting to explore, their impulse control is low.
So if you've got a wood heater, you need a fire screen and you need to supervise your children. Supervision is absolutely important around wood heaters, and check your fire screen regularly to make sure it's still attached to the wall.
A campaign supported by Kids Safe will target parents and carers with information during a child's 6-month checkup. It won't be hard bagging a catch at Tasmania's Highland Lakes this season. The waters are now brimming with trout, topped up by the state's fisheries, and that's just in time for this year's World Fly Fishing Championship.
With this lagoon now topped up, the fishing season ahead looks sure to reel in a winner.
Woo! All set now. We're all ready to go.
I think we're going to have a great season. We've been able to stock the fisheries that need to be stocked, which is great. So they're all prepared. So yeah, we're expecting good things in the coming season.
This is all part of the Inland Fisheries Service and the government's plan to provide angling opportunities for Tasmanians, for interstate and overseas, because we have a world-class trout fishery.
Around 26,000 licensed anglers fish in Tasmania every year, and this hotspot is just one of 10 across the state, receiving improved facilities funded by the government.
There are lots of camping opportunities, picnicking opportunities, and it's great to have access to amenities. It's really important. We've seen the need, we've responded to that feedback.
The amenities are set to be up and running ahead of the World Fly Fishing Championship, taking place in Tasmania for the first time since 1988.
It's been a long journey of organisation, of getting the right fish in the lakes.
With this location now fully stocked, there's still over 6,000 trout left to deploy in the north of the state, as Tasmania prepares to host hundreds of competitors from all across the globe.
We'll be putting on show one of the best brown trout fishers in the world, and probably the best brown trout fisher in the world, and it'll make people want to come to Tasmania.
The championship will take place at various locations during the first week of December. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Dark Mofo organisers are preparing to go out with a bang for the final weekend. They've created a wooden sculpture which will hold a giant swift parrot. Festival goers have been writing down their fears and placing them in the so-called Ogga Ogga, which will be set on fire.
So that's going to come in through the streets on a parade and then get lifted into its nest, as you can see. And and everybody's fears that they've put inside the Ogga Ogga are burnt away.
The sculpture is being fitted with 150,000 firecrackers for Sunday night's big event. Will be spectacular. Well, ahead of Dark Mofo's nude solstice swim tomorrow, Antarctic expeditioners are taking their own extreme icy plunge. Marking the shortest day of the year, they dive through the ice into sub-zero water.
In the twilight of the Antarctic midwinter, expeditioners cut a pool into the ice. They're preparing for a seasonal tradition.
Today we are here to celebrate midwinters. It's the midwinter swim. It's a bit of a, I guess, a special way to mark the event. It's not something you get to do every day. Dipping into Antarctic water, having a swim.
Taking a brave plunge in. Yep. The water is hovering at -1.5 degrees.
This is my first time down here, and swimming in Antarctica was pretty hectic, pretty cold. Felt like my body was on fire, and my head was screaming, get to the ladder and get out as quick as you possibly could.
But getting out, the air temperature is lower than -20.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, pretty invigorating. But the water's not too bad, it's just the getting out bit that's super cold.
The swim marking this week's winter solstice, the part of the year where the South Pole is tilted its furthest from the sun. 74 Australian expeditioners are overwintering in one of the most remote and extreme parts of the Earth.
The day is just a day of celebration. Everyone's just focused on recognising the halfway mark of winter. The days are going to start getting longer. We're going to see sunshine in a couple of weeks.
A special milestone for expeditioners as they count down the days until the sun rises again. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
To the TSL, and the eyes of the competition will be on Lauderdale Oval tomorrow in what could potentially be a finals preview between two of the league's best sides. And after 2 weeks off, Glenorchy will need to be at the top of their game against the red-hot Lauderdale.
The Pies got the better of the Bombers at KG5 earlier in the season, so the Lauderdale coach is looking forward to having the home ground advantage.
People don't like going to the tip, that's for sure. And I think if you've seen the visitors' change rooms, people don't like to be in there, certainly too early. And, you know, we normally give it a bit of a hose down before they get there and make it nice and cold.
Winning every game in dominant fashion. Since that round 7 loss, the Bombers are flying high and keen to clip the Pies' wings with a more physical brand of football this time around.
We just went through the motions and that certainly won't happen. You know, it doesn't mean we're going to win the game this week, but it certainly won't happen again like it did last time, and we'll be a lot more aggressive.
Never normally short of a word, the Glenorchy coach was a bit more subdued following 2 weeks off.
Really good. Yep, it's excellent. It's like another season starts now, really. We've put ourselves in a good spot, but there's a few big tests in a row coming up.
Starting with the Bombers tomorrow, who now sit 2 wins clear of the Pies on top of the table.
We're really looking forward to this. It's just a huge challenge to go down there and win. You make a real statement about who you are as a team if you go there and win, and, you know, that's what we're looking to do.
Meanwhile, representative footy makes its way to Kingston's Twin Ovals tomorrow morning for the Devils' NAB League clash with the Northern Knights. And with the Tassie boys sitting just outside the top 8, crowds can expect the state's best young talent to come out firing, with the opening bounce scheduled for 11 a.m.
Tasmanian Tigers skipper Matthew Wade has given Australian selectors something to think about ahead of the Ashes series, blasting a century in Australia A's first match of their UK tour against Northamptonshire. The Hobart Hurricanes opener knocked 117 from just 67 balls, including 18 fours and 3 sixes. Back home, and Devonport can tighten its grip on the NPL title this weekend, with the Strikers heading in as heavy favourites against cellar dwellers Clarence at Wentworth Park tomorrow. And with the boys from Valley Road all but certain of a win, Olympia and South Hobart will need to do the same to keep their hopes alive, with the sides taking on Riverside and Glenorchy Knights. The North West Thunder's NBL 1 playoff hopes could be given a serious boost tonight following last weekend's dominant win over the Hobart Huskies. The Thunder could crack into the competition's top 8 with victory over Geelong in Melbourne, but that will be easier said than done with the Supercats in solid form.
Got to play a hell of a lot better than we did Saturday night to compete with this team that's currently third and one of the top form teams in the league right now.
Meantime, the Hobart Huskies will be desperate to keep their season alive at home against the Knox Raiders. Tip-off for both games is at 8 p.m. The hills around Launceston will roar to life this weekend when the Australian Rally Championship comes to town. Around 40 competitors will join the Tassie stage of the event. Rally leader Harry Bates was among a handful of drivers taking in the sights of the Cataract Gorge early this morning.
Our plan this weekend is to go out and attack the stages to the north of Launceston and, just see if we can consolidate our lead in the championship.
This weekend stage is known for its tough test of technical driving around mountains and ice. A Tasmanian 10-pin bowling ace is preparing to showcase her talents on the international stage, and having put in the hard yards, Sarah Pennicott is confident she can match it with the world's best young rollers. It started with a trip to a local bowling alley in Launceston.
Cameron, I was bowling for my birthday actually, and they were advertising a student development program, and so I joined that and went from there.
Quickly realising she had serious potential in the sport, Sarah has since gone on to compete at the Australian Junior Championships, where she led the Tassie team to bronze. The 17-year-old has now secured herself a spot in the national team, bound for next month's Asian School Championships in Hong Kong, where she'll roll against some of the best young bowling talent the world has to offer.
They bowl 4 or 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as doing their schoolwork. They have sports development programs that far outweigh anything that we do in Australia.
Making the team's pretty good as well, like overall, but top it off with a medal would be awesome.
It could also lead to something bigger and better, selection for next year's World Youth Championships.
Got to have a strong mindset when things aren't going well and to keep going and pick it back up.
She's got the world in front of her, basically.
Good evening. I don't know about you, but to me today felt like it went by very, very quickly. It just felt shorter than any other day, really. But it was cold, I can tell you that much. Hobart and Burnie just 12, Launceston and Devonport 13 degrees. Eddystone Point the high with 15, St Helens, Smithton and King Island 13, Flinders Island, Low Head and Ouse 12, Friendly Beaches, Strawn and Grove 11, Lyawini just 3, while Lake Leak the low overnight with a -3. The north of the state mostly cloud-free today, as most of the clouds sat over the south and southeast of Tasmania, where a few showers did fall. More cloud over Victoria, southeast New South Wales and southern South Australia. Thunderstorm activity over central parts of WA. Tomorrow, a broad area of high pressure. It's just to our west, and that extends across most of the continent. There's a cold front to the west of WA with an associated trough over the Southern Ocean. Winds south-southwesterly at 10 to 15 knots, reaching 20 knots over the east in the morning, swells below the 2 metre mark. And with more icy conditions expected, we have a road weather alert for the Central Plateau, Midlands and Upper Derwent Valley. Saturday, Hobart, partly cloudy, 3 overnight, a top of 12 tomorrow, 9 for Maydena, partly cloudy after a cold start, a colder start for Oatlands, -1 and a top of 8. Launceston, 12 the high, -3 overnight. A sunny afternoon though, sunny 2 for Devonport and 12 degrees and 4 the top for Lyawini. Burnie sunny and 13, 11 the high for Strawn, maybe a shower in the west, Marrawar a shower as well and 12 degrees. St Helens 13, 13 also for Swansea, partly cloudy as well for Orford and 11 degrees. Sunday, a possible severe frost to kick things off, followed by a fine mostly sunny day with light winds. Fine on Monday as well, apart from showers over the northwest, possibly, and on Tuesday a fine partly cloudy day for most of the state. Rain with a possible storm forecast for Perth, sunny in Adelaide, a few showers and 13 in Melbourne, a shower over Sydney later in the day, but sunny and warmer further north. And temperatures here, of course, in single figures, 8 in Hobart, Launceston 7 at the moment and 8 degrees in Devonport. And the winter solstice swim underway at 7:42 tomorrow morning, when the air temperature is expected to be about 3 degrees. The water temperature, though, will be up around the 12-degree mark, so you'll be warmer in the water than on the beach. Now, we know Jo Palmer is off tonight, getting ready for her first solstice swim in the morning. Rachel, you weren't keen to join her?
No, I doubt it, and I don't think she will either. Thank you for that, Murph. Well, that's all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.